Let's turn to West Asia now. Israel is preparing for the final stage of its war, a ground assault on Rafah. But what happens after that? What will post-war Gaza look like? Reports say Saudi Arabia could play a role in deciding that. The kingdom is hosting a key meeting on Monday. It will bring together multiple stakeholders like the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, and the Palestinian Authority. They'll all be there for the meeting, but no Hamas and no Israel. These countries will be represented by their foreign minister. So Antony Blinken will be flying down on Monday. But what is the agenda here? What are they hoping to achieve? Some officials are calling it a crisis meeting. The idea is to get a broad picture of post-war Gaza. Who will fund the reconstruction? Who will administer the Gaza Strip? And what role will Israel play? These are some of the possible questions on the table, and no one is expecting concrete results. But the meeting itself is symbolic. Why? Because it's happening in Saudi Arabia. So far, the kingdom has stayed on the sidelines. They have criticized Israel, but we haven't really seen any initiatives. Iran's proxies have done the fighting. Qatar and Egypt have hosted the peace talks. Saudi Arabia was more like the family elder, important but silent. So what role can Riyadh play now? There are two sides to this. The first is a short-term role. Gaza is facing acute food shortage. United Nations agencies say a famine could set in by 6 weeks. So Gaza needs a lot of aid, and they need it fast. Plus, reconstruction will require a lot of money. The United Nations says it will cost $20 billion, the reconstruction of Gaza. Egypt says it will cost $90 billion. So Saudi money will be necessary. The kingdom is the largest economy in the Arab world, also the natural leader of Muslim nations. So Riyadh's voice will carry weight. That's the short-term role. In the long term, Riyadh will play a role in the two-state solution. And their position is quite clear. Create a Palestinian state and we will fund Gaza's reconstruction. If not, do not count on us. And honestly, it makes sense. Assume Saudi Arabia funds Gaza's reconstruction. There is no two-state solution. 10 years pass by. There is yet another flare-up and Israel flattens Gaza again. So Riyadh now wants assurances. Assurances that Palestine will get statehood. The question is, will Israel agree to it? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is a Palestine hawk. He's made a career out of rejecting the two-state solution. Recent events have only hardened his position. Listen to his statement from February this year. This is what Netanyahu said. Israel categorically rejects international dictates regarding a permanent settlement with the Palestinians. Israel will continue to oppose unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. That's what the Israeli Prime Minister said. The United States has the same policy. They do want a two-state solution, but they want Israel to agree to it. Enter Saudi Arabia. It is the biggest prize for Israel's leadership. If Riyadh recognizes Israel, it could set off a chain reaction. Other Muslim nations could do the same. And do not forget the economic potential. Saudi Arabia's money plus Israel's technology. Together, it could reshape West Asia. It could also seal Netanyahu's legacy. He wouldn't be the man who allowed October 7th to happen. He would be the man who forged friendship with Saudi Arabia. It sounds a lot better, doesn't it? So Riyadh does have leverage here. But it's also a political minefield for them. Globally, Muslim sentiment has turned against Israel. So recognizing them during or after the war will be quite risky. Which brings us to the United States. Riyadh has a wish list for the US. Some security guarantees, extra military aid, and assistance for a nuclear program. That's what the Saudis want. If Biden agrees to this, Saudi Arabia could go ahead. Hence the meeting on Monday. It's the right time for these conversations. But a lot will depend on Israel's actions in the coming days. They are moving in on Rafah. So despite all the warnings, an invasion now looks imminent, and that could shape the Arab world's decision. A bloodbath in Rafah would be too hard to ignore. It could bury or at least delay the chances of a stable West Asia.